To me, there's like 3 or 4 stages that you have to like
Uh-huh.
kind of, you know what I mean? That will develop a good mindset and towards being successful in competition. There's the before the tournament, during the tournament, and after the tournament, right?
Okay.
So if you want to be successful in competition, it ultimately comes down to, of course, the most important thing is mindset. What kind of state of mind you're in, and of course, technical ability, right? And I know it's cliche, but the best way to develop both is before in training, right? Training, training, training. But the one thing that, when people, well, I hear a lot of professors, oh, you got to train hard. You just got to train hard. Yes, you have to train hard. You have to train often. But a lot of the confidence, and I'm going to speak from my experience. And I know I try to teach a lot to my kids, to my students, and we talk about mindset and about strategies and things like that. But I think that you build confidence in the training, and you build confidence by competing often, right? You don't, you're never going to get rid of the butterflies. You're always going to be nervous, but it's the level, right? Whether you're so nervous you can't focus and you run out of gas, or you're nervous but you're confident and determined, right? Everybody gets nervous before competition. Everyone. It's just what kind of level. Now, I'm going to use some examples of mine as to how I went from like being super nervous and having so results, and I did okay, but it wasn't great, to like, okay, I'm winning and I feel confident, I feel sharp, and I'm mangling everyone, right? And it comes down to regular, consistent training. So if you train and you have good training partners and you have good technical abilities and you're in the best shape of your life, you cannot help but be confident. You cannot help but feel good. You know, if you are looking sharp in training, there's a pretty good chance you'll be sharp in competition as well. Because, yeah, you're going to be nervous, but if you're in good shape and you're technically like sound, the second you touch hands with your opponent, it's go, right? So you just that those nerves are gonna go away, and you're just gonna go and you're gonna revert autopilot to what you've been training, right?
There's a really good saying here. It's like you don't
So
rise to the occasion. You fall to your lowest level, no, highest level of preparation. Right.
exactly, that's exactly it.
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
you are well prepared and you're in good shape, because that's the most important part is the gas. If you run out of gas, it doesn't matter how technical you are, you're going to lose. So if you're in good shape and you train hard and you train often, you're having good results in training, you're going to go to the tournament feeling pretty confident. Yeah, you're going to be nervous. Yeah, you're going to be a wreck. But then as soon as you slap bump go, bang, you're good, and you just get to go, because the cardio will and the technique will push you through. The hard part, I think, is sometimes people don't know how to manage their emotions. They don't know how to manage the butterflies. I remember, again, like I said, I'm going to use some of my examples. When I competed back in the day, the way the tournaments were structured, the advanced guys would always go last, right? So I would be there like 8 o'clock in the morning, weigh in, and then hang out with my buddies all day, watch their matches all day, coach them all day, because that was primarily a big one of my big roles. Man, like I told you in the last time, I was teaching and coaching as early as blue belt. So I was like helping my teammates, yelling at them, freaking out. Boom, okay, they win, fantastic. So white belts, color belts, whatever, lower ranks, and then it would be my turn. Well, by then I'm mentally and physically exhausted because I've been staring at people, yelling at people all day. So I would always run out of gas. I would always get tired. And I would have like mediocre performances. Most of the time I would win, but they were just like nothing special. It was just okay, I won, great, some points, maybe I got a submission, like, but it wasn't like the kind of performances that I could have if I didn't have to deal with all that. So when I had a couple of losses that really like bugged me, and one of them was because I got tired. I was dominating the guy, kicking his butt. I was winning like 13-0, and I ended up getting submitted because I ran out of gas. I got caught in the triangle. I said, man, this can't happen anymore. So what I started to do was like I would go to the tournaments, and I realized like, man, you have to be selfish as an athlete. It's very hard to do both. I can't be coaching all day and then competing. Like it just didn't work. So if I wanted to be successful as an athlete, I had to be selfish. And even now, I tell my students like they want to see their teammates fight. It's like, man, you can watch the highlights later, man. Just you need to like. That's why now it's perfect. You know exactly when your division is going to start. You show up an hour before. You don't get distracted. Go listen to your music. Go take a nap. Go lie down. Use almost no energy whatsoever, because just watching matches you can drain your energy. You know.
There's a big roller coaster of emotions that happens
Yeah.
during
So
that.
just go lie down. Try to take a nap. Listen to your music. Relax. And then when it's okay, when they call your division up and you weigh in, okay, after you weigh in, you have a certain amount of time. They don't push you through right away. Okay, that's your warm up. After you weigh in, you warm up. You start warming up. And then and make sure you get a good warm up, a good sweat, as if you had rolled 2 rounds already at the academy, you know. And you get a good sweat, you feel good, and then when you slap bump, boom, good to go. That's the difference, and that's you need. And you see everybody, all the high levels guys, you see them doing that now. Like all the top guys, you see them with walking around with their Walkmans, their hoodies. You don't really talk into anyone. Yeah, everybody does that now because it's the right thing to do. You don't want to waste unnecessary energy, you know. And I started to have a lot more success. I remember one time I had like a super fight, and there was a bunch of matches before mine. And I think it was Monkey. I said, Monkey, I'm gonna go lie down in my car, man. Come get me when it's like, you know, 2 matches before mine or one match before mine. And then he came, I just lie down in my car, try to fall asleep. He came to get me, went in, quick warm up, got my heart rate going. Went in, boom, I was all over this guy the whole match. He did a really good job defending himself. Like he ended up later on winning a World Masters Championship at black belt.
Wow.
Yeah, he was good. So he really like he did a good job defending himself, and he was a little bit smaller than me. All right, so I was just like physically doing, imposing, pushing, trying to submit. Came close a couple of times, but he was a tough guy, tough kid. But I thought it was a good performance on my part. I felt I could have gone another 20 minutes. I was not tired at all. I didn't even break much of a sweat, really. So that's when I was like, okay, see, this is the right way to do it. Like you can't. It's very hard to do both. Like if you're gonna coach. If you're gonna fight, fight. Doing both, like I said, you can. Nothing's impossible, but you better be in an insane shape. You better be in really good shape because then it doesn't matter so much. And it gets easier, like as you get, you know, experience, right? Everybody talks about experience. When you have hundreds of matches, yeah, you still get nervous, but you don't, um, your nerves don't tire you out as much, you know? They don't mentally drain you as much. It's kind of
You
like
just want to do it
it's
fun.
part of like, yeah, I've been here a million times. It's all good, right? And then, but that's the main thing. The confidence comes from training, you know? Confidence comes from training and consistency in the tournaments. Like if you compete every weekend, man, how can you not eventually start to get results and eventually start to get better and eventually, those nerves don't affect you as much, right? Because you can't compete once a year and then feel like, no, man, it's overwhelming. It's too much. It's too much nerves. But if you're competing every month, you're gonna get a little nervous, but not as much. Not as much.
If you if you do an annual thing, that's like it's an annual thing. Like this is my one shot to
Yeah,
do it
your
versus
whole
like
life is
matches.
dependent on that tournament. Yeah, it's no, no, no. Yeah, no. You can do other things. Like that's just the base, right? That's the base. If you're in good shape and you train regularly, and that will give you confidence for sure. It gave me confidence. But when you're like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm ready. I haven't trained much lately. that starts to creep, you know, in your mind. But you can do, a lot of people believe in visualization, you know, envisioning yourself winning, envision yourself having the referee. I didn't really envision too much as far as like, because it doesn't work for everybody, right? Everybody's like, oh, visualize. No, everybody's different. And some things work for some things don't work for others, you know? So I think visualization for me, I only really envisioned one thing. It was always the referee raising my hand. You know, I really always thought referee raising my hand in victory, 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 right? Because it's jiu-jitsu is so dynamic that yeah, you can envision your best game. Like you can envision your best game, but that just going over your techniques in the head and applying them to your opposition. But that could be sometimes overwhelming, depending like if stuff starts to creep up in your head as far as like, you know, then you start thinking about what your opponent does well, especially if you know who he is, right? So I just always envision, my hand being raised all the time, right?